In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
Question everything, trust nothing. It's your boy Crusader here at Debate Crypto. What's going on, guys? We've got a great panel tonight for Around the Charts. Another T8 Thursday for you guys. We got Frankie Candles, Gareth Soloway, CVO Crypto from Leading Crypto, and Bill Noble, the one and only. Guys, what's going on tonight, guys? How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing awesome. Man, good to see you.
Always great.
Dude, it's great having you guys. I look forward to every T8 Thursday on here. I know Nick and I sometimes switch on off hosting the show, but dude, I love the T8 Thursdays. So let's get right into it, right? Things have been happening in the macroeconomics, right? We're seeing some things happening in the stock market with some of the things happening with the, I don't know if we can even say the new POX, the new whatever it is, right? And before the fog around the world started, we kind of saw a pump in the crypto in the markets, in the stock market. Could we be seeing something like that again now that we got this phenomenon going? And what do you guys thought on that before we get into the charts with Bitcoin and Ethereum? Anyone can take it off first. Frankie Candles, why don't you go first?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that? I just heard the glass broke in the room next to me. It totally distracted me. I'm so sorry.
No worries, dude. No worries.
So someone got hurt.
All I was saying was that before the fog around the world, we saw a pump in the stock market. We saw some things going on that pumped the markets before we had a massive dump. Right now, we're starting to see this new POX scenario coming around, being declared as a health emergency. Mm-hmm. Do you guys foresee something like that once again causing a rally and then a possible dump, or are you guys not even worried about that right now?
So first off, thank you for having me on again. I absolutely love coming on this show. So thank you for having me on. And to be 100% honest with you, I was talking about this on my show pretty recently. I had someone else, had Jason Casper on my show. And I'm very much a technical trader. I'm a chart guy. To be honest, I trade the charts. I pay attention to the news, but I trade what the charts are saying. So I don't, sometimes I will take big news events and take that into account. But for the most part, I'm a very technical trader. So I don't really take much of that stuff into consideration too much. For example, I was in a short recently. It was a bearish divergence. It was like a textbook short position, and I nailed it. And someone was like, "Oh, you shorted the Elon dump." And I was like, no, it was a bearish divergence. So I didn't even know that Elon did anything. I was like, the chart told me to short it, not Elon. But it's funny how it all lines up.
Yeah.
What about you, Gareth?
No, I agree 100%. I mean, you'll see a chart and it'll be coming into resistance, and you're like, oh, well, that's that. It should pull back here, and then the next day after it touches that level, there'll be some news that coordinates with it, and that's the beauty of it. I always think it's good to know the news. Like, I always want to be informed, but I oftentimes use the news as like, what are the masses thinking? What are the masses being brainwashed with? And then you can use it as a contrarian indicator where, like, if everyone's insanely bullish and everyone's pumping something, start looking at the short side, look for those resistance points and start thinking about selling into it or something like that. So it's definitely the beauty of the charts is that they do kind of guide you in the direction even before the news hits.
Paul, how about you? I think I know your answer, but go ahead.
Man, I just realized you can't spell Gareth without ETH, thanks to Crypto Billy in the chat. Not to just kind of tag on to the coattails here, but similar, I guess. But, looking at this, for me, I've been looking at, as far as timing would go for, from the high to the low of the, if you want to look at it as the bear market low, whatever the case may be. I've been looking towards September for quite a while here. So it's interesting to see this kind of poke around, pop up, whatever the case may be. And, whether or not we're going to go down to 10K or whatever the case is, in my opinion, I think we're either going to revisit the low or we're going to know that that's the low by next month. Right. So this could be something that just kind of tacks along, and a month later it gets worse, and, you got a lockdown or some crazy thing somewhere. And maybe it does, end up being a similar news event. But aside from that, similar to the other gentleman, I mean, it's, these are things that we've looking in the charts, the technicals and things that you've been like kind of already paying attention for. that doesn't necessarily sway. And like something even like Solana is a really good example recently where, you know, everybody's really like looking at that, like, oh, they got hacked and they had all these issues and this and that, and the price moved 2% or whatever it was. Whether or not it's going to, you know, see a larger pullback in the near future here is obviously the question. But yeah, I just, you know, taking it day by day in that sense. But it's interesting to see something like that kind of poking its head around, you know, something like you said, a fog around the world coming back, you know, and kind of foaming up now. But we'll see.
All right. Bill, what you got?
Okay, so two things. One, don't trade off the newspaper, right? Don't read Yahoo Finance and trade off that. That said, in research, you get paid for imagination, right? On the monkeypox front, what I've read about this is whatever you're throwing around is the most painful thing anybody's ever been through, and I'm not even going to tell you where the rash is. So the government is not going to have to tell anybody to stay home with what I've read about this. People are going to do it voluntarily. That's going to blunt economic activity. So whatever the Fed is going to do in September, like whatever bazooka they're going to fire to stop inflation, they're going to fire it in September, and that's it. Because remember, they got the election in November, and the Fed can't be seen, I don't know, doing anything partisan. So what does that mean for crypto? Well, if they're done in September and there's something out there that's going to blunt economic activity, right? Crypto can just go. So I know on last show, I was kind of like, you know, I had a couple charts and I got a couple charts tonight, but the fact of the matter is in September, like August might be chop as people like maybe slowly figure this out. But man, if everybody goes, oh my God, like you said about like what happened last time, man, they could walk in New York, could come in from Labor Day and buy this thing for 3 or 4 weeks.
Ooh, interesting. So this brings me to our first real crypto question here, guys. I wanna, you know, show of hands. Who thinks Bitcoin is going up and who thinks Bitcoin is going down in the near future?
Before we answer that, Bill, can you show us on the horse where the rash would be?
Dude, the horse is cut off there on purpose so I don't have to point to it. Funny, not funny.
So show of hands, who thinks Bitcoin's going up? Who thinks Bitcoin's going down?
So what's can we get an exact time frame? Like isn't the next week or the next month?
Let's use Bill Noble's time frame of September to, you know, November through around the election time. Let's use around this year time. Do you guys think it's going up or you think it's going down?
I would say up.
Up
in that time, yeah.
I'm taking
down.
Oh, we got some disagree. I like it.
Yeah.
Bill, you think it's going up, right?
I'm up in September, but down after that, and I can tell you why.
Oh, really?
Okay,
See,
so
I'm
up
down
in September and then after
that.
September down.
Right. Up for
so-
September, October, November, down.
So down heading into the elections.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Right.
So let's eat our vegetables first, right? Let's get the bad news out of the way. Let's see some charts of why we're going down, and then maybe we can you know, sprinkle some good stuff on top with why we're going up. So Gareth, Bill, whichever one you guys want to go first, show us why you think things might be going down.
I'll let Bill. Why don't you take it? I'll go after.
Okay. Let me pull this up quick. Okay, I'm going to share screen from our newsletter that I just cranked out. Okay. So let me see if I can move this up. I'm getting there. Okay, here it is. Okay, this is ETHE. And you're like, what's ETHE? Well, that's the equity markets version of ETH, right? So if you don't want to open a Coinbase account, you trade ETH in your Schwab account, this is how you do it. Now, this is a complicated study, but the most recent example is pretty good, right? You have winter, spring, summer, fall. And believe it or not, whatever ETH does into the date that the seasons change, it does the opposite during that season. So it topped in the spring in March, right? Then it goes down, have this like apocalyptic liquidation. Then summer comes along on June 20th, right? So if it's down in the spring, right, it should be up in the summer, right? All the way out until the fall equinox in September. Now I realize, we're just showing one part of the chart. There's actually a study behind this, but up in September into fall, right? More than anyone thinks, like, I don't know, how about like ETH 3000? And then once you get to the fall equinox on the 22nd of September, or maybe the end of the month, exit. And I'll give it to you quickly, right? This is why you should exit. Basically, right before the Supreme Court's recent controversial decision, the Republicans were going to run away. It was going to be a landslide for them in November. Now, after this social issue comes up, guess what? It's tied 50-50. And of course, we have problems counting votes. But if you have a blue sweep instead of a red sweep, well, you're going to have people in October and November going, wait a minute, what's going to happen to capital gains taxes if the Democrats or the blue people have the White House, the Senate, and Congress, or the House, right? Everyone's going to be like, everyone's going to be like, oh no. So this was a non-issue, but then the social issue comes up. So if you're going to make money in crypto, basically what I'm telling people is, man, you got to do it in September, because after that, all bets are off. Monkeypox, capital gains tax, forget about it. Bad.
Hey, I'm hoping you're right, dude. September is my birthday, so I'm ready for that rally on September. Gareth, what you got?
All right. So what I have going on here is Bitcoin is in a tight band right here. So we got this bearish kind of consolidation. It's a little too orderly for me. So I think this is just a little bit of bullish consolidation here. I'm expecting one more near-term move up. Minimum target would be the Terra Luna low here of around 25,500. So I think we get at least one more pop into that. There's a small chance you could get kind of a chasing rally that takes us up to this 28.5 to 30,000 level. The thought process there is you're seeing a lot of money run into technology stocks right now. The NASDAQ has been ripping higher. I think the NASDAQ's up like 20-30% just off of the recent lows a couple months ago. In fact, if we take a look at the QQQ, you can see what a more vertical up move it's had versus the Bitcoin chart, which is much flatter, right? So the idea here is that money honestly is scared of Bitcoin and crypto right now because of Voyager, Celsius. People are a little gun shy, but they're pushing all of their money into stocks right now, into the equity markets. I think eventually when the equity markets start to stall out, you'll see some money rotate back into crypto. That'll give it its kind of final move up. But the bottom line is any way you cut it, whether Bill's comments are accurate. I think also you have to think about the fact that there's no way we've seen the full flush out here of a bottom in crypto in a bear market. I mean, go back to any of the previous bear markets. There wasn't the blood in the streets, as they say, that you've had in previous actual bottoms. In addition, I mean, you still got the measured move. You still have a calculated move from this distance here. And then if you take that same distance there, you got basically down to about 12,000 there. So I think you got at least one more big flush down, probably starts in September, October, kind of in that vicinity. Most likely when the equity markets start to flush as well, you'll get this risk off environment again to hit. It probably coincides. My guess is I don't think it's as much election based for me of Democrats or Republicans. It's more the market realization that we're going into a recession and inflation will still be too high for the Fed to print us out of it. And I think that is going to be a monumental freak out for investors because for the last 20 plus years, .com collapse, Fed came in, lowered interest rate. Great recession, Fed came in and printed trillions of dollars, COVID trillions of dollars. Well, guess what? The next recession, the Fed can't bail us out. And I think that realization is going to cause the next big market flush, and it's going to spread to crypto. So again, short-term, very short-term bullish, but midterm into year end, another big flush in the markets, in the crypto market.
So you think that the Federal Reserve will not print money again, even if we, the recession comes and it's a tough one?
No, so I actually do eventually think that they will be forced to, but they're going to try initially not to, right? So just because we're entering a recession, they're going to say, "Oh, unemployment's at 6% instead of 3%. No big deal. We can tolerate that, but because inflation is still too high." When the recession gets so bad that unemployment hits 10% or even 8 or 12, the Fed is then going to say, "Okay, inflation's at 4%, still elevated over 2%. But we've got to print. We've got to print our way out because it's getting too painful for Main Street, for average Joes, right? So I think initially the markets will panic. It'll get so bad the Fed eventually has to come to the rescue.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense because they're already trying to redefine what recession means. So you already see the signs that they're going to try to prolong that effect as long as possible before they make it official. Like, okay, we're in trouble. Turn the printer back on. So
Yeah.
we've got Frankie Candles and we got CVO. They think that Bitcoin is going up, right? So Frankie, you were saying earlier before the show started that you think we've bottomed out, and you're seeing a lot of signs on why we've bottomed out. So give it to us, man. Give us some of those sprinkles on top of those vegetables that we just finished eating because we're eating some bad news right now. The people need some hope.
For sure. So yeah, we were talking, before the show started, and I want to be clear. I am not calling the bottom, but I did just upload a video on my channel where I take a deep dive into the previous cycles, and I always preface this with, you can only take history into account so much, right? Just because it happened in the past doesn't mean it's 100% going to repeat, even though Bitcoin has repeated itself in these cycles very, very closely. You want to take everything with a grain of salt. Obviously something different can happen, especially in this macroeconomic environment. But just to kind of show you, I'll give you the argument on basically in my video, I make a case for our local bottom that we found here on June 13th, 2022. I make the we look at that and say, if that was the bottom, what is the evidence that points towards that? And there is a good bit of evidence. And right here, basically what I did on this chart was I basically marked out the halvings. From halving to halving, these gold lines, and then I have the bottoms of each bear market marked out with these white lines, and I just measured the days, right? And there is a lot of similarities between all of the cycles, all three of these, for one, but specifically between the one we're in now and this 2013-2014 cycle, and some of those similarities are from the halving to the bottom took about 777 days in this cycle here. And in our current cycle, we are up to about 763 days from halving to bottom, if this is the bottom, and that 17.5, 17.6 number, depending on what exchange you're looking at. If that is the bottom, these numbers add up very, very, very closely, right? And not only that, but also this argument is taking into account, hypothetically assuming that the first top that we made here was the actual peak of the bull cycle. And there are a lot of things that point towards this. I have another video explaining that. I don't want to waste too much time talking about it. But there are a lot of people who think this was the actual peak of the cycle. And I think it's possible. So in this specific video, I was making the argument that if this was the top, it is possible that we could have seen Bitcoin bottom out right here at about 17.5. And if you look from the all-time high to the bottom, it took about 427 days. And if you look at our all-time high here in 2013 to the bottom, it took about 413 days. So you got 413, 427, 777, 763. Very close numbers. Now, not enough to say that, it's the bottom because it repeated very closely. You can't just go off of that. But I do think people need, it is possible. Now, the big if, right? The big if here is the macroeconomics, right? Obviously, if something crazy goes on, I know the China-Taiwan tensions were rising. Something like this, something like the monkeypox, like we were talking about earlier, something like that could totally throw the charts right out the window. Could be a black swan. In that case, I would be looking to, those lower targets. That would be, for me, between about 14 and 10K, right? And I just get that basically, if you just zoom out on the chart here, about 14 to 10K from about here. So this range here, right, about 14K to about 10K. We also do have a point of control. When you pull a volume profile from the all-time low of the previous bear market to current price action, you do have a point of control, which is essentially where the most volume was traded given this entire range, right? We do have a point of control there at about $9,400, $9,500, which is very interesting because I know a lot of people are expecting this thing to go down to about 10K. So there's a little confluence to come lower. So if we break this value area high level right here at about 18,326, and we start to revisit these lows at about 17,500, 17,600, I do think it is possible to come down towards this point of control at about $9,500. 10K, give or take some, give or take a little bit up or down there. But again, very, very reliant on the macroeconomics, right? The charts can tell you a lot. I did think that was very, very interesting. When you look at all these cycles and where the bottoms have come in, they've all come in very similarly time-wise. But again, we are in very different times. I always tell people you want to remember every single Bitcoin bear market we've seen has happened in a macroeconomic bull run. Everything else was in a bull run when Bitcoin went into its bear market. And if we do see some kind of bigger recession come in here, I know some people are expecting a multi-year depression. We see something like that happen regardless of what the catalyst for that is. Obviously, I don't think people are going to be running to risk on assets like crypto, in which case I do think we could definitely come down to these lower levels.
Ay, 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 ay. CVO, show me the secret sauce, dude. Tell me where Bitcoin's going. Tell me it's going to the moon. Come on, the people need some hope.
Yeah, so right after September, it's 100K, and no, so keeping it simple, right? So just looking at this, I'm going to give the example. So I guess to preface, right, the idea of like, your question is Bitcoin going up from here or whatever the case may be, right? And that's kind of a loaded question, I think, because even in the short term here, I could see us getting back towards that 19, 20K, like literally first, like right now. And I'll go over that in a second here. But looking over like a little bit of a higher time frame, this is the weekly chart. I've been comparing this to the NASDAQ for quite a while from back in the day here, right? So the correlation of just the price action alone, right? You can see a very similar pattern, which once again, like we all said, right, like not that this has to play out by any means, but if you were to throw Bitcoin's price over the NASDAQ back here in 2002, right, this would have been your 17,000 or your 20K high back in the day, 3K low, 14K high, Rona dump. You got your 65K first high, slightly higher high over here, 69, right? And then you got your rundown back test the previous all-time high, right? That would be if you just threw this over Bitcoin's price action today. After that, right, this is a weekly deal here, and we bounced from that low, and once again, weekly time frame, ran it back up and retested this range right here, basically ran it to the range low. We got the rejection, and we essentially just ranged it out in this region for quite a bit before actually just continuing on, right? So, I brought this idea up quite a few times where, something like this, if it was to play out for Bitcoin, it'd be very interesting because while I do, I could definitely get behind the, 10, 11, 11, 5, whatever the case is, right? If we come down to these regions, seeing something like this is just, it's slowly playing out, which is very interesting to see, right? And one thing I got noted here is that September 19th, this is as far as time and price would go, this would be the distribution for the last run up. So this is a weekly level here. This is a round where I'd be looking for the bottom to either be in, or we'd realize that the bottom was already in right here, right? So, and from here, bouncing up and tagging back into this region, all aligns with, zooming in a little bit here. We've got our overall range here, which comes back in at $30,100, right? So basically $30,900. So essentially that's like a 2K, 31K little run up. I know everybody's got their eyes on the golden pocket. You've got the 25K. I think Gareth refers to this as the Luna dump or whatever around that region as well, right? So this whole little region obviously is interesting. And when you're pulling up a quarterly range right here, so similar to what Frankie was just looking at there, you can obviously see that there's very little to no volume in this region. And we have not rotated this range in full. And this is from Q2 of this year. So this is literally just from April to June of this year. And essentially, we've just been hovering around the lows and basically holding on to this region. You broke out of this little structure here. And from that, you know, running up to this region, it'd be interesting to see. You know, and then catching a rejection and pulling back down in the September time, in that October time, you know, it possibly aligns with all these things coming to fruition, I guess now with, I always forget that the Fed has a meeting in September. So that's interesting that lines up with that. You've got now this, you know, new possible, you know, fog over the world, whatever the case is. When in reality, you know, if we just get a similar thing, like we just saw on the NASDAQ, where we actually just run it up to these regions. I know that a lot of people are getting, you know, would be really excited around here. I think that 28K is everybody's mental target. And if we pushed higher than that, I don't know, many are looking at 30, 31 for this same reason, I suppose. So if you come up to this region and catching a rejection and then coming back down and just literally not even taking the lows, but just coming down and ranging around in this region, you know, for let's just say the next several months or whatever the case is, maybe even 2023, that is something that I'm kind of looking for where, you know, not to say that we're just going straight up, but, you know, we wouldn't go any lower, I guess, is the idea there. So just a little bit of a different take, I suppose, compared to a couple others. Ethereum, you know, is an interesting one too. And I think right now in the short term, Ethereum's kind of telling the story, right? So this range I've been looking at for Ethereum is from last year. So this is from Q1 of last year that we were looking at as it entered back here on June 11th. We were looking for point of control, range low. Obviously, we met both of those. And from there, we've been struggling at this value area high right here. And in the short term, I would imagine that we're going to come down to this region, this untapped monthly key level. And then we also have a golden pocket, a bunch of things aligning in this region, which is back down to like $1,200. So kind of getting back to in the short term here, a pullback before we continue higher. And then we'll have to see how things kind of, present themselves in September. But September to me is interesting, you know, and I know everybody's kind of got their own September idea at this point as well. So I guess that's kind of the idea there, right? So very similar to that NASDAQ outline is what I'm kind of anticipating, but obviously we'll see how things unfold.
Dude, that's awesome. So we all kind of have an agreement that September is looking pretty good for crypto. So we know where Bitcoin's heading, and if Bitcoin's heading up, right, then the altcoins are coming up along with it. That includes Ethereum and so forth, but let's not focus on Ethereum. A lot of people don't call it an altcoin anymore. So what is an altcoin that if we do have in September or whatever time frame it is between that's coming up soon, what is an altcoin that you guys are looking at that you think is really primed, ready to pop off for this next little rally, whether it's up to 24, 28 or 30K, whatever it is, before we come back down? And you know, you guys can go around and choosing whatever altcoin you guys are looking at to say, hey, this is what's happening right here, this is what I'm seeing in the charts. So Bill, why don't you take that first?
All right. So I again just published this today. All right. So let's start out with something that most everybody could get behind, which is Avalanche. Okay. I like GAN. I like Fibonacci, and I use Fibonacci circles here. You basically connect the high, connect the low, connect the high, and the circles expand out. And then you just see whether or not, you know, it works or not. So I noticed with this yellow fib circle structure in Avalanche, you know, it was right at the top at 100. And then Avalanche falls and goes sideways. And then you have this thing on TradingView called the pi cycle bottom, which is kind of a catchy moving average indicator. And look what we got here. It's headed for the fib circle line again, the same structure, the same group of yellow curved lines. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm wondering, with Solana having problems with the base that Avalanche is making, you know, kind of a saying, the bigger the base, the higher in the space, the longer something sits, the higher it can go. So if you've got multiple bottoming signals and problems with another big layer one, we have seen in the past, Avalanche has done this. The market either goes sideways or Avalanche even one time was going up when the market was going down. So I'm wondering if the Avalanche beast can get out. And then when I was done playing around with the fib circles, I was like, let's try drawing this in Cardano, right? In other words, if there's a problem with a layer one, what layer ones might take its place, or they don't have to take its place, but what could be the next trade? Well, I don't know. I drew this structure, right, from this low to this high, right? So this is basically your BitBoy rally, right? You have a July bottom, a November top, an April top, and look here, you're right at the low, right? You're right there. So the question is, if total crypto market cap is going to expand, wouldn't it be funny if it was not only ETH, but Avalanche and Cardano?
Dude, that I've never seen Fibonacci circles. That seems amazing. For me, I thought it was like sonar radar. Like I'm not a TA expert at all. It looked like sonar just expanding out. That I've never seen that. That's
we check
awesome.
the weather.
Yeah. Dude, that's awesome. So I'm a holder of Cardano. I don't hold any AVAX. Maybe I'll take a look at it. But obviously, none of this is ever financial advice for anybody watching, right? So nobody out here just go and make financial decisions off what's based on this show. We're here for entertainment purposes and education, but never financial advice. So great take on that, Bill. I appreciate it. Gareth, what are you looking at when it comes to the altcoin markets and anything being primed and ready to pop off?
Yeah, so I think for me, I like when things are kind of getting bashed. So like the Solana hack recently has me kind of keeping an eye on it. And on the chart, what's interesting about the chart is you got this tightening wedge pattern forming, and you're right at the low end of it. So basically, if you're looking to take a little bit of a trade, the trade here would just be to buy this low end of this support line. And if it were to close below or confirm below, you just exit for a small loss. So you have a very defined stop in that respect. Now, the upside would be is if you trade up here, you have resistance. So you have a nice distance. If you do like a risk reward assessment, which every trader should do on every trade, your reward is basically from here up to here, and your risk is really tiny. I mean, maybe down here, something like that. So that's a nice risk reward. And then the other side too would be that if you get up to here, maybe you leave half on the table to let it ride in case it breaks out. If you break out, you have some upside to maybe as high as $58. So again, it's always one of those things where when everyone's hating on something, that's where I'll start kind of taking a look at it. In this case, the chart's intriguing to me. I fully go into a trade like this saying, hey, listen, it may break below that line and I may just stop out, but at least the stop out would be a very small one versus the reward that I potentially would get if we start to see this thing start to roar higher. So I would say that's an interesting chart for me.
Dude, that's a good point too, right? It's a great when people are literally saying, hey, this thing's dead. Hey, no matter how bad the news is, most of the time it makes a massive comeback at some point. So, Solana, no matter how much I don't like it, no matter how much people want to talk bad about it, right? I don't think it's gonna go away anytime soon. I really don't think so, right? The NFT marketplace on it is continuing to expand, and it's I think it's a competitor. No matter how many flaws it has in it, I don't think it's just going to disappear, without a fight. So I definitely think it's gonna, have a good comeback at some point, especially if we see a good rally. Frankie, what about you? What are you looking at, man?
So Solana actually was one that I was looking at, but I can show you another one as well. Let me just share my screen real quick. Actually, something I want to kind of look at here is, I talk to my community about a lot about when we were in these ranges for a lot of the assets were in this kind of range down here, right? And we had some targets, and our top target was right about here. Our top target for Ethereum, which I do consider an altcoin, I will consider it the king altcoin, so it does make it a little bit different. And recently we've seen Ethereum lead the market, right? Ethereum has been the market leader here in the recent past. We've had a lot of the bullish signals confirm on ETH before they actually happened on Bitcoin. And our target for ETH at the top was about 1,800, coming up to this previous area of consolidation. I know a lot of people are watching these levels. But we saw Ethereum break out and hit all these price targets all the way up to 1,800, almost exactly. But then a lot of the other altcoins, there are, some altcoins absolutely ripped. We saw Matic go crazy. So a lot of altcoins did actually go nuts. But there are some that were held back in these little consolidation areas without a breakout. And one of those was GMT, right? Step in. This is they have it's like a move to earn project. Basically, you get the app on your phone, you get their NFT, and as you walk, you earn money. Actually, Brian from one of our other channels here, he actually was making a lot of money. He was making like $800 for a 20-minute walk. So pretty cool project. But this was one that's kind of stuck down here, hasn't actually broken out yet. And looking at the volume here, you could see, if we do get a further move up, if Bitcoin does finally break out, because we actually didn't see Bitcoin break out of its range like we did ETH, which was kind of making me worried. Like, is Bitcoin just lagging behind ETH like it has in the recent past? Or are we not going to see Bitcoin get out of that range and rip up to that 30K level? And I like CVO showing that there was not a lot of volume, right? We look at these volume gaps all the time on my channel. When you have these gaps in volume here, you see price rip through very, very quickly. There's just nothing holding it up or holding it back. And looking at that, I do think GMT has room to break out here if we see things go bullish. If we break out of this level, first price target would be about $1.18. If we break that, I'm looking up to about $1.39, $1.40, essentially pretty close to $1.40. And if we can get this over this level, flip this to support and break into this lower volume area, I do think we can get a quick ride up to this next little area right here, in the $2 range. So I do think we can get this rip up if we can get these other assets to break out like ETH did. But there's just some that are just still stuck in this range down here. So that's basically what I'm looking at.
Gotta get stepping and make that money, dude.
That's right.
I mean, they were making lots of money with that thing. I mean, it was crazy. I almost quit my job to sign up for and just start going for walks all day.
Yeah, right.
I walk some dogs.
Yeah, dude. Got to make that multiple streams of income. So, CVO, what are you seeing in the charts, man? What is an altcoin that's really got your eye that you're saying, hey, this thing's ready to pop?
So I got a few, but I'm going to go over two fun ones that I'm sure the chat will really enjoy. One is your favorite, and
I knew it. I knew it.
So, in the sense of not a leverage play by any means, this is definitely like a spot swing trade, mid to long term, however you want to look at it, right? Where we are with XRP is that, we've this daily level right here has been kind of a major area to pay attention for. Obviously, we came down to it. This is a 4-hour time chart, but if you went to the daily, you'll see that we closed here. We had some resistance here, resistance, so on and so forth. We obviously have now turned this into some support. We already hit our point of control. And right now we're just riding on this daily level about where we are right now, 37 cents. One thing to keep in mind is just depending on how Bitcoin reacts in the near term here, right? If we get a pullback, obviously the altcoins, everything is going to get another, drawdown as well. There's a golden pocket right below here is about a 10% drop. So in this like 10% window here, which similar to what Gareth was saying earlier, you do have some pretty nice areas to kind of consider to cut your loss, right? If this is not going to play out, you got a nice invalidation right below here to either set an alert to consider looking at the market or set a stop loss, however you're going to do it. Same in this region as well, between this 33 to 37 cents. But reason I look at this the most is because now we have actually flipped this level right here, and for me, it really is more important to actually come up above this 40 cent. But if you take out this 40 cent, you got one daily level above that. Once again, looking at volume, right? Really nothing to get over in this region. We got an untapped high time frame average of price coming in here. That's about 48 cents. You got the value area high. And then if things really get cooking, right? Bitcoin runs it to 30K. ETH is at 2,300, coming up to all these higher targets in the short term. This golden pocket, I think, is really something I'd be keeping my eye on for XRP. This is from the entire move down here from the second quarter. And that would be about 100% move from where we are right now. So just something to kind of keep in mind there. Another one.
Wow, 70 cent XRP. I don't think the XRP community has seen that in years.
Probably about this time last year is around there. Another one is Doge, right? So Doge has been very interesting. I don't know if I talked about this one last time I was here as well. Very similar to something like Solana. Doesn't matter, whatever, however you think about a coin, a project, whatever. It's definitely a situation where, don't hate it, don't date it, just trade it, because there's opportunities to be made with Doge, as we've obviously seen in the past. Right now, however, it's just kind of like holding in this area right here. As far as like a monthly time frame would go, it's pretty much just hugging on to the monthly point of control right here. For me, I'd really be looking for this to come up. And I know this is going to sound odd, right? And everybody on the panel will understand this, but you'd miss out on 22%. Essentially, unless you really start like having some invalidation points below. But if we come up and reclaim this value area low, range low, however you want to consider it, but up at about 8.2 cents. Like I said, you'd miss out on this region, but anybody that's been chasing that recently, this was a 20% pullback, you've just been kind of getting chopped around. Come up to this region, you'd have a nice invalidation point, stop loss just below. And from here, once again, nothing. You got an untapped high time frame average of price right here, daily level, golden pocket, point of control, all that equaling out to, from the low, not even from where we are, a nice 70% opportunity. And then the range high would come in to play after that. But for now, I'd be looking to take it up to that 70% run there for Doge. So those are two examples. Like I said, I got many, but
I'm sure the Doge community is loving that, man. Everybody's like, come on, Shiba, get to that 1 penny again so I can be a millionaire.
1 penny again, huh?
I hate Doge. You're making me want to buy some.
So, guys, I appreciate all you guys coming on here. You guys bring a bunch of hardcore work, right? Doing your TA, showing the people, educating the people what's going on, keeping the people updated. So, guys, if you guys have not smashed the likes, if you guys are not following Frankie Candles, Gareth Soloway, CVO Crypto, and Bill Noble, I don't know what you guys are doing, right? You guys are obviously not doing it right. You're not preparing in the times of the bear market for the good times in the bull market that will eventually return at some point, right? Might not be by election time, but at some point, it's going to turn back around. So, guys, one last round around the table. Final thoughts, whatever you guys have to say, whatever you guys have going on. It's your time to plug it. So, go ahead. Bill, take it away.
All right. Well, buy the fear in August, not investment advice, right? Ride it up in September, right? And get out before, I don't know, everybody has to go vote in monkeypox, right? Dude, make sure, I'm telling people, if you're going to make money in crypto being long, it's going to be in September. I agree with my colleague on XRP. I got fib circles there too. So don't doubt your XRPs and your Cardanos. A lot of people have blown that off. Don't. And ETH can go higher than you think. And my final word is, if it's going to go much lower, it's got to go much higher first. So,
ooh, interesting. Gareth, what you got for the people?
Oh man, so I would just say in bear markets, everyone realizes that thought they were a genius in a bull market that they're not, right? So use that and improve yourself. So get educated, learn different techniques that you can. Everyone here on this panel has used different techniques to kind of give people insight, and I think that's the key, is just get educated. I recently launched a 3-course trading, basically hardcore educational package. So if you want to check that out, check it out at verifiedinvestingcrypto.com. But get educated, people. It's so important.
Dude, awesome. Guys, you know where it's at. Frankie.
Yeah, I love what Gareth just said. I tell people all the time, listen, if you're watching this stream right now, if you're watching crypto YouTube right now when nobody else is watching, you are the ones that are going to make it out like bandits in the next bull run. And everybody who's calling you an idiot right now, oh, why you're in crypto, you probably lost all your money. What are you doing? All those people are going to be eating their words in the next bull market. So double down on the research, double down on the content. Everybody here is a great content creator, giving out great information. So, and also last but not least, guys, smash the like button. Shout out to Crypto Billy, said, if you guys could kindly tap the like button. So smash the like, guys. Thanks again for having me on.
Thank you for coming on. CVO, final thoughts.
Man, I think that we should put up a follow-up video with Bill showing us on that horse just where this rash is, and I maybe label it with sneaking in the ETH symbol in Gareth's name, and we'll really just pull all the ties together. But no, I was actually telling my wife right before we started this, I was like, what's crazy is that regardless of how you want to look at last year, which to me I do think that just normal November 69K, obviously that was the top. Whether you're looking at it back in May, considering that was it, whatever, but it's been like 9 months. You're almost 9 months in, to, at least in a cyclical basis, about a year bear market, right? Towards getting to the bottom. Obviously, it's not just rocketing straight up out of the lows and, we're back to where we were, a year ago, but we've gone straight down for a long time, essentially, right? We've ranged it out so much. I do think there's more ranging to come, but from here, I just think across the board, things like Dogecoin, things like Ethereum, things like all these altcoins, and in Bitcoin included. I mean, if Bitcoin pushes to $30,000, I mean, that is essentially, a huge opportunity, right? And then all these altcoins, you've already seen Quant, Matic, several others, Curve, a bunch go at least three-figure percentages. You got Doge lined up with a possible 70, 80. Well, from where it's at, that would be 100% if it hits that target we were just talking about. There's a lot of opportunities that are ahead. But you really would want to have like your head on straight when those targets are met, because it's probably will, it's more than likely not just going to be just jetting, continuing on back to where we were, yada yada yada. It's going to be very much similar in the sense of, I bring up the XRP thing. I'm by no means an XRP max or anything. I brought up that chart today because it did look good, but my XRP story from 2018 was that if I just sold every time we hit 30 cents back in 2018 and bought back in at 17. I would have at least quadrupled my holdings. Even if I was at a loss from the money version or fiat version, however you want to look at it, I would have at least quadrupled my holdings in that 2-year period, because we just ran it 100%. Held it, got excited, thinking we were going back, and just let it all, gave it all back over the following week. So if you're still here, just like Frankie said, I mean, it's been a journey for sure, and I think we still have some really good times ahead. Obviously, there's going to be some bumpy ones, but it's really can't get too much worse than what we've already been through. So with that, I look forward to the horse video.
So there you guys have it, guys. Stay educated, keep on learning, right? The worst might be over, but even if it's not, we're almost there, guys. There is light at the end of the tunnel. So like always, question everything, trust nothing, and until next time, hodl like it's hot. See you guys.
Will Smith the